61% of all search in the US starts on Amazon.
So in theory, they're going to reduce the price later if it comes back?
Let's see how their
What do you
AI
think?
spending goes.
And so if you've been relying on Amazon to do that for you, you're screwed.
Size matters, right?
As my wife tells me. So it's all about big ad energy and ad envy.
I
I got you. Stuff's been happening and we have stuff to tell you. This is a news episode, and Zamir, what is on the headlines today?
So Amazon's fees are going up again. Amazon are stopping their prep services. They're on the way out. And we find out about Amazon's Q1 profitability.
All right, so let's dive on in. Let's go through. First one is the surcharge that's come in.
Yeah,
So
since 17th of April.
yeah, so if you, whether you knew it or not, guys, you are being surcharged. So 3.5%.
Yes. So US 3.5%, UK and Europe 1.5%. It's fuel and logistics fee increase. That's the justification for it. And it's on all your FBA fees.
I guess this is not a major surprise because we're hearing all the stuff about fuel prices, and Amazon is going to be quick to protect themselves on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think off the back of the fact, again, from what we've talked about, how sensitive they're going to be on their share price at the moment when it comes to around profitability, they've responded really quickly. I mean, we were looking at a fee reduction less than 5 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So this has already kicked in as well. So this already came in
So quickly, yeah.
super quick. In terms of what can you do about it realistically?
Oh, if we put it into some context, we're thinking, so what, 3.5% in the US, you're probably looking at somewhere around about 20 to 50 US cents on your FBA fees in terms of an increase. In the UK, it's going to be a lot less than that, probably around about 5
Pretty
to
marginal.
20p. Yeah. So I think efficiencies, probably, first point.
Yeah, find efficiencies, but I think the easiest one is in advertising, right? So,
Arguably, the easiest one is put your price up.
or okay, fine, put your price up.
But yeah.
As long as no one wants to be the first to jump, right?
So
the
that's
main
not going to
problem.
happen, though. Yeah.
So I guess it's going to be find efficiencies in the business, maybe in your ads,
Yeah.
maybe in other parts of the production flow, maybe chat to suppliers, find ways of saving that money.
I mean, equally, I would point out this is coming on top of whatever fee increases you're going to be looking at in your cost of goods and your own internal shipping, which no doubt have been increasing over the last weeks and months and are likely to go up over the forthcoming months. So actually, that whole point on price increase, I think those are almost inevitable. And we knew when we heard this, first of all, if it was going to be at all protracted, it was most likely going to lead to a degree of inflation, right?
So in theory, they're going to reduce the price later if it comes back.
Let's see how their
What do you
AI
think?
spending goes.
Yeah, I mean they did drop the price to they did drop things by 5% previously, right? So
Yeah.
in some fairness, they may do it again. Maybe.
It's possible. But for now, we have to assume that this is where it's going to be. And it may not be the last increase because, again, in the
Yeah.
past, and
Exactly.
recent past, if we look at the last 5 years, whenever inflation really kicked in, we saw up to 3
Additional
price increases in a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this could be the first.
Okay, fine. So one to watch.
Definitely.
The next headline, prep services.
Yeah, this
are
one-
on the way out.
This one really affects you.
This is an interesting one. So I haven't seen a major announcement from this. This is something that we saw as we're going through creating shipments into Amazon. There's an alert that comes up when you check your case configuration. It says as of 1 July, they're going to stop all prep services. That means labels, bubble wraps, stickering, all that stuff is on the way out.
Which is, a lot of people use this service. I think it's worth pointing out the US actually Amazon removed it in the US 1st of January. So it's in the US, it's been nearly 4 months of it. Yeah.
And it's coming here.
And it's coming here.
And I find this interesting because this is going to require brands to really figure out how they're going to prep stuff, right? If you have glass
Yeah.
or stuff that just doesn't ship well, you have to figure this out. This is not a small deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think if you're if someone that's used to handling your product, labeling it, doing stuff on it, you're not going to be as effective because you probably don't use this service. If you just shift pallets, which a lot of the larger brands do, they're not set up for this.
They're not set up, and smaller brands, like people who don't have their own warehousing, but they use a 3PL provider. A lot of 3PLs aren't set up for reworking things or just working stuff.
Where they do, it's a lot more expensive than Amazon's been doing it.
Yeah. It's why I'm trying to figure out why they didn't just increase their price. What's actually doing this? Is it because they make mistakes and it's just a headache and they want to simplify things in the FCs, or?
I would point out that they have been increasing the price. Do you remember how shocked we were?
The prices have definitely gone up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So go for it.
I was going to say that's Amazon. We always say that if you don't want to do something, just keep putting the price up. Right, until the point when you don't. And that's what they've been doing. My suspicion is that the reworking, they've analyzed it, and the reworking is creating a bottleneck in their fulfillment center process. And what they've realized is that they can't get around it. They've tried to optimize it and they can't. They've just decided to stop doing it.
Which is my frustration with a lot of stuff that they do, right? Because they pass it back to the sellers, and then a lot of sellers have to just figure it out, which is really annoying.
I do feel that this comes back to that bigger picture that we kind of talked about whenever we were looking at the letter from Andy Jassy, right? It's this point that Amazon is now so focused on profitability that what they're saying here is we're actually willing to sacrifice having more products on the shelf, more choice, more opportunity, which up until now they've been like, we'll do anything to get a product onto our shelves. Yeah, we'll be as flexible as we possibly can. And now they're going, actually, no, profitability is much more of a priority than having that wider choice.
Would you guys like to know the official reason?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Leon. The official reason is Amazon believes sellers have matured. Amazon have said that it is because the vast majority of Amazon sellers now handle their own packaging.
Ali, you've matured.
I've matured. Hey, great.
You're ready for this.
Yes.
You may graduate.
Jump out of the nest.
Yes. You can handle this by yourself.
But apparently the cynical side of this is some industry observers see a deeper strategic shift in play. They think that Amazon just wants to move away from smaller sellers and focus on the big boys.
Oh, I disagree with it. Sorry, I thought I was going to be the cynical person there in that one. But no, my view on this is actually the smaller sellers aren't going to be as bothered because they're used to...
No, the tiny ones can. This is the thing.
All right.
The tiny guys can. Yeah. Because you're doing it out of your bedroom.
Yeah, exactly. Okay? So they're not going to be fazed by this.
I think it's the people above that. Right? Because, okay, so we are not a large seller. We are not a tiny seller. We're normal size. But a lot of our stuff is... So most people produce their product so that it goes straight into retail shelves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to do specific online or Amazon products, then you have to rework that either at source or at your warehouse. And so if you've been relying on Amazon to do that for you, you're screwed. If you have to convince now your manufacturer or get it reworked in between. And if your major, like Coca-Cola is not going to put a special lineup just for Amazon.
No.
Right? Big companies are not going to do that. But they're all going to have to figure it out. So I don't think this cynical view, I don't fully...
I think you come around to I was going to say, so I think it comes back to this framing of who's a large seller and who's a small one. And as you always point out to me, size matters, right?
As my wife tells me.
So I think you're right. Look, small sellers not going to be bothered because they don't lean on these services. I think pure play Amazon or anyone that's heavily into selling on Amazon is not going to be as bothered because you're right. They're the ones that are going to be able to figure out how to make it rework.
Yeah.
Right? They'll rework it with manufacturers. But the larger brands, the really big ones, who do not look at individual transactions and orders at all, it's always about moving containers.
True.
At the smallest denomination.
But they're also the ones that have the most ability to adjust. Let's say you're a really large company, a GSK, an RB, a Bayer. You will have...
I'm going to argue with you on this one.
Budgets to do that kind of thing.
You got the budgets to do that, but you're not going to care. They're not going to do it.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, no, hold on a second. You're saying that these big behemoths have the flexibility to move and between in 3 months change
Not in
that
3
whole
months.
process. Yeah,
but
exactly.
But they'll pivot eventually. Like they will still maybe not 3 months, but they'll do it in. Actually,
Yeah.
also realized those big guys, the GSKs, the
Mhm.
RBs, the Bayers, those guys are doing vendor. They're selling to Amazon.
That's true.
Amazon will probably prep
That's a
their
fair
own
point.
stuff. They probably just won't prep your
Your
stuff.
sell. Yeah. So it's going to be marketplace sellers. Yeah. That's
So,
fair.
realization.
Yeah.
Problem. Marketplace sellers that are not tiny.
I mean, the realization that's in my eyes is the fact that it's you that's been really hit by this. Yeah.
Jeff and Andy, I know you've been watching me. If you're watching our pod, you should watch our pod. Subscribe. So yeah. Okay.
What are you
fine.
going to do?
We're gonna have to. So for our major lines, our most important lines, our tier 1 lines, we do have ship ready packaging, right? So we're fine. But it's for the stuff that has lower volume, but there's not enough. The commercials don't work out.
So just to understand that, right? It's a smaller volume, so it's just not cost effective for you to have completely bespoke packaging.
Because not only does it go to supermarkets and independent retailers and shops and stuff, it goes to Amazon, and so we have to now figure out how we do this in between. Now I have a couple ideas, but this will require creativity.
You're a creative guy.
Yeah, you have to figure it out. But there may be, I realistically think there's going to be a period where there will be reduced availability of a lot of lines.
Or products just arriving really badly packaged.
Yeah, or just arriving broken.
That's another point here, right? Because what Amazon's actually risking, I think, because sellers are not going to back off, is customer
experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're risking customer experience for profitability. That's my cynical view.
That sounds like Argos. Argos, you did that.
My cynical view.
All right, fine. Cool. What's the next headline?
Well, speaking about Amazon's profitability.
Yes.
Revenue's up, profitability's up.
What are we talking? What are the numbers? Have we got the numbers?
All right, so Amazon beat expectations by somewhere in the region of about $5 billion. So what the market expected.
Okay, so we should clarify. What are the numbers we're talking about? We're talking about the Q1 figures, right? This is not annual. This is Q1 figures.
This is Amazon's Q1 earnings report, which was released in the last week. And Leon has the figures for us.
Over to you, Leon.
Thank you. Okay, so Amazon reported 181.5 billion in revenue, well ahead of Wall Street's forecast, and it was up 17% year on year.
Interesting. So
that's combined revenue, right?
Combined revenue. So advertising revenue jumped up 24% year on year to 17.24 billion. AWS is reaccelerating to 28% growth, its fastest pace in 15 quarters.
So can I pick out something on that? That was Amazon language, not our language on that. Reaccelerating. Just to point out that it looks like, and it's still early days because not all of the Microsoft and Google are obviously the other major players here. So, but essentially it looks like they've just about held market share. So for the first time in a number of quarters where they've been dropping market share, they may have just held market share in Q1, but they've seen 28% growth. Market's just growing really rapidly.
Yes.
So Amazon's online sales are 64.3 billion, which is roughly 15% growth year on year, which is impressive given the headwinds that they're facing at the moment, I think, in general. But the really interesting stat, I think, is that growth in advertising revenue we mentioned.
Let's expand on that because that is also a headline in itself.
Yeah, I mean, we know that this is a massive cash cow for Amazon. So we've kind of assume that this is where they're going to really lean into for more profitability. And I think if you put it into the context of what's happening in digital advertising, in fact, the entire advertising landscape, you've kind of got Meta and Google who are the biggest in the market. And Meta's kind of chasing down at the moment Google in terms of like managed ad revenue. Google still dominating, but Google only saw 15% ad revenue growth in the in Q1,
yes,
as opposed to Meta, who had 33% growth in Q1 on their ad revenue, which is impressive.
Yeah. So what do you think has triggered that? What exactly is going to bring that in?
Well, I think there's two different advertising models at play here. So we've got attention, which is very much Meta in general. All of its ad revenue is from attention advertising, and Google, which is split between both intent and attention. So attention coming from YouTube, but intent very much has come from their search tool. But now they've just switched on advertising in AI. And so it's going to be really interesting to see. And that's a defensive a posture and move. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because they feel that this intent search is going to be dropping back. People are going to start using AI more and more.
Yeah.
And so they want to get some. Their advertising revenue from intent searches is at risk.
Yeah. So they just want to kind of protect that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then in relation to Amazon, so I guess
more on the intent side, right? So again, you've got to wonder how much Google sees Amazon's advertising as a threat. There's a dramatic difference in terms of the amount of revenue we're talking about between these two, but I'm
different
sure
scales.
Amazon is looking at that as a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
And we were talking just yesterday about the fact that sort of like in the US, 61% of all search in the US starts on Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon must feel that if you compare that to the amount of revenue that they're generating from advertising, which is sort of in the region of about 15% of what Google actually achieves.
Comparatively very small.
Yeah. And they must be thinking that they can grow that and quite dramatically. That growth potentially is a cost that most Amazon sellers need to be aware of, if not concerned about.
Okay. Fine. So it's all about big ad energy and ad envy. I got you.
I was about to make a serious point, and then I was like, that's just never going to flow from that. A serious point I was going to make was the fact that Google, one of the biggest criticisms we see, sellers are like moving towards Meta because they're like, actually, we can't get a return on our Google spend. We're hearing this more and more.
Yeah, happens a lot.
Right? So you've got to ask yourself then if Amazon's trying to sort of like is looking at that as an opportunity, that's even more of a risk for sellers. And I think when we're looking at the overall funnel, attention's obviously sitting there at the top of that funnel. And I think as sellers, we probably need to spend more time considering our ad strategies and kind of move into that upper funnel.
Yeah.
And realistically speaking, Meta is driving sales. It bypasses all, Google and sometimes even Amazon, right? And straight to sale. So that's an opportunity potentially for sellers, at least, to consider a way of insulating themselves from these hikes and inflation in ad costs.
I like that. And if you guys are actually interested in this topic, let us know in the comments, because we can do a whole episode on how to really kind of hedge yourself and prepare with all these evolutionary changes that are taking place. So please drop in some comments. And if you like that, hit like. Cool. Okay, so those are the headlines. Really interesting stuff that's been happening. I don't know how I'm going to deal with all this packaging issue, but
you got a team of people to help you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll figure out our package.
We got you.
We'll figure out our package. That's the news, and those are our views. One love.
Peace out. One love.